Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be covering a 2022 NFL mock draft. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comment section below who is your favorite team. Now, a lot of these picks are made off of the pre-draft meetings that teams have had with players. So a lot of it is going to be based off of that, who they've met with so far, and what are some of the likely outcomes for these teams. Now at pick number one, I think based on the pre-draft workouts and the private things that were scheduled with Aiden Hutchinson in Jacksonville, obviously the David Ojabo injury kind of changed the complexion of that. But Aiden Hutchinson here has met with Jacksonville so far. I think he's a terrific fit with this organization. He's a player that's ready day one. He's going to be a high impact player, a guy that's going to be very, very productive at the next level. Just has a really good feel for going up against the run, and also a terrific pass rusher in his own right. The production was off the charts this year. He dominated in big games. He was everything you were hoping for an edge. And I think Jacksonville would be wise to go ahead and select Aiden Hutchinson here at number one. And that kind of is a domino effect for Detroit, because I think Detroit's going to be kind of waiting to see who is the two available, or who's the guy available of the top two. Kayvon Thibodeaux from Oregon, high impact player, a guy when he was on the field absolutely dominated. And when you look, once again, the production was phenomenal. His upside is phenomenal. He's a terrific athlete, super explosive, and there's a lot of room for improvement as well. Detroit is going to be looking to get better up front, and I don't think that really stops here with Kayvon. I think he's a big-time pickup for Dan Campbell and this team. And when you look at the Detroit Lions, they desperately need to get better up front, specifically that front seven. So I love that for Detroit. I think that makes all the sense in the world for them. And I think he's a worthwhile selection. At number three, we have the Houston Texans. Obviously, they are in full rebuild mode. Without Deshaun Watson, now they have a lot of assets from that trade. I think it's going to be important for them to establish a good offensive line. That's something they're going to have to continue to rework. Davis Mills showed flashes last year, potentially being the franchise quarterback for the Houston Texans. And how can you complement that? You're going to put receivers around him and also build him a really, really good offensive line. So I think that's very well what they can do. I like Evan Neal here from Alabama. He's shown that he can play left tackle and right tackle. That was a big reason for him and his ascension in the draft, is he was playing right tackle. They kick him over to left tackle. He was phenomenal there. He's got the great frame at, I believe, 6'7". He's also super athletic, a guy that can get out and move. And the Houston Texans are getting a high impact offensive lineman, right away in the draft. And they have other draft picks to really help complement and fix this roster to get it to where they can once again be competitive. And Evan Neal's a terrific start in doing so. At number four, we have Ike Mekwonu out of NC State. The New York Jets are going to be a team to watch potentially for another offensive lineman. They've invested heavily in this offensive line since, Joe Douglas took over as the general manager. AVT, Mekhi Becton, those are two first-round guys. I think they're going to go ahead and make it a third here with Ike Mekwonu. Once again, a really great offensive lineman, fits in nicely with the New York Jets. And I think, honestly, after this pick is made, you consider them a top five offensive line in the league, considering what they've been able to build. It's impressive. Joe Douglas has done a really nice job in terms of building this team holistically. So I think Ike Mekwonu feels like a pretty good pick here. The New York Jets, I believe, had a pre-draft, meeting with him so far, which is really, really big and, really determining an outcome of a selection. Now at number five, I have Travon Walker. Travon Walker didn't necessarily have the eye-popping production, but what he does have is tremendous upside. He has great athleticism. I think the New York Giants just need a little more speed on that defense. Travon Walker, off the edge is a big part in, changing this defense up a little bit. I think Travon Walker can fit in nicely, and you look at what he could potentially become is a double-digit sack guy. And he kind of got overshadowed a little bit on this Georgia defense, considering there was so much star power. However, Travon Walker was no slouch in his own right. He was a very, very good player, and I think the upside is there for Walker. Now at number six, we have Kenny Pickett, and I think when you look at the Carolina Panthers, they're going to be looking for a guy that can come in and make an impact right away. Kenny Pickett in his final season at Pittsburgh really turned it on, was not on a lot of people's, actual radars for the draft. Definitely not the first round either. So Kenny Pickett, big time player, a guy that can hopefully right away make an impact. And when you look at what this team needs, it's quarterback, right? I mean, they have a lot of nice pieces on the roster. Quarterback's just been the big question for them. The Sam Darnold trade did not work out. And it was very, very frustrating for Panther fans having to endure that. But they could potentially get it right here with Kenny Pickett. And, drafting him could potentially save Matt Rule's job. Who really knows? The jury's still out on that. I think he has a very short leash, though, heading into this season. At number 7, when you have a guy as talented as Kyle Hamilton on the board, the New York Giants aren't going to flinch. They're going to draft one of those potential generational safeties. And once again, he would be selected higher if it was not an issue of, quote, positional value. People go back and forth on that. It's not worth taking a safety. It is worth taking a safety with a top 10 pick. But when you look at what some of the high impact safeties like Harrison Smith's made in his career, Derwin James is another guy that was actually fell because of his actual positional value. They're big time players and they're guys that can do a lot of different things. Kyle Hamilton is no different. I love this pick for the Giants. And I think when you're able to add this to your defense, Trayvon Walker and Kyle Hamilton in one offseason, that is a significant upgrade. Now we have number 8, and it's the Atlanta Falcons. Malik Willis feels like the pick to me. I've been pretty consistent mocking this. I think where you look at the Atlanta Falcons, Marcus Mariota is not a conducive long-term option. So they're going to be looking for a guy that is a big-time, development project because they probably feel okay with Mariota heading into the year. Malik Willis wouldn't have to play right away, which is perfectly fine. There's a lot that he does have to work on. However, you can argue as the highest upside in the entire draft. So I love this pick for the Falcons. Gives me a lot of shades of the young Michael Vick in Atlanta. I love Malik Willis. I love his game. And I think if you're looking for a guy that could potentially be groundbreaking in this class, to me, it feels like Malik Willis. At number 9, now you have the Seattle Seahawks, and Ahmad Gardner is actually the pick. I know a lot of people are probably expecting quarterback here, but when you think about the Seattle Seahawks, they've lost a lot in the secondary over the last couple of seasons. Ahmad Gardner could be the start of rebuilding that team, especially in that back half of that defense. Ahmad Gardner, 6'3", 200 pounds, terrific cover corner. And the Seattle Seahawks have just been missing an element, on that defense, getting those long, lengthy corners, big corners, physical guys. And Ahmad Gardner could kind of fit the bill. I know a lot of people are hoping for a quarterback here, but I think when you look at the talent of Ahmad Gardner, it is absolutely undeniable at a premium position. So I don't think they're going to hesitate when potentially selecting a guy like Ahmad Gardner. At number 10, I have Garrett Wilson going to the New York Jets, and the New York Jets are a team that definitely need a number 1 wide receiver, a true go-to guy. Elijah Moore showed some great flashes with his time with the Jets last year. Obviously, Corey Davis is a nice complementary receiver, but then you can get your true number 1 in Garrett Wilson, a guy that is phenomenal at route running. He's got really good hands, great after the catch. I think the New York Jets are in a good position here, especially with having those 2 first-round picks. Can really kind of give them a jump start in a very tough and competitive AFC. But looking at this, Zach Wilson's going to love this pick. And you get an offensive lineman, and then you get a wide receiver. There's not a lot more you can ask of with your 2 top 10 picks. I think the Jets absolutely nail it if they go this direction. Now looking at the next one here, we have number 11. This one here is Chris Olave. Chris Olave was on people's boards, but they were kind of figuring him to be more in the mid to late 20s. And I think that with his 40 time, that kind of reestablished him as a true, number 1 wide receiver heading into the year next year. And I think the Commanders are in a position where they want to make sure Carson Wentz has every tool to succeed. Obviously, you have Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, and then you add a guy like Chris Olave into the mix as well. I think that makes a lot of sense. They have when you look at what Terry McLaurin could be alongside of a Chris Olave, it could be a dangerous pairing for many, many years to come. At number 12, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and they've been searching for cornerback. I think it's no secret for many years. They just haven't been able to, unfortunately, get it right. You've had guys like, Jeff Gladney, Mike Hughes, Cam Dantzler, just to name a couple of them. But I think you get it right here. Derek Stingley potentially is a top 5 talent in this entire draft. Fluid corner, dynamic athlete, a guy that's really good at tracking the ball and can generate turnovers. There's a lot to be said about his last 2 seasons at LSU. However, That slide could be huge for the Minnesota Vikings. You get a talented player, from that national title team, just like Justin Jefferson. You add a guy like Derek Stingley. I think he has star potential in this league. So the Vikings should be very, very happy if this is how the draft plays out, because getting a guy like Derek Stingley at 12 is a rare commodity. So I like that here for the Minnesota Vikings. At 13, and I was talking a lot about Houston and Davis Mills and, developing him further. Treylon Burks can be that guy, could be a go-to wide receiver. I like this for them. Big physical guy, 6'3", red zone threat, and a guy that's phenomenal after the catch. So that's a big thing for me is, what can he do with the ball after he catches it? And Treylon Burks is phenomenal. Great upper body strength. And he's a tough guy to bring down. So I love this for the Houston Texans. You're getting some more weapons on this offense, and they definitely won't be done after this one. There's going to be a couple of other picks, maybe running backs, another wideout. So they're really not done with the weapons on this team. Now at number 14, I love this fit. Jermaine Johnson has been a high riser for me and a lot of other people in the mock draft community. Jermaine Johnson's production was insane at Florida State this past season. Considering he was a JUCO product, was really able to burst onto the scene with this team. I think the Baltimore Ravens are definitely going to be looking at that edge spot, and they're going to be, carefully considering that. So I love Jermaine Johnson here. To me, it makes all the sense in the world for Baltimore to continue to address that edge spot. They're in a tough division. The Bengals obviously just coming off of a Super Bowl loss. Nevertheless, they've gotten better this offseason too. So Baltimore, they got to stay on par with them. I know they had a lot of injuries last year, but they should come back and, really make it competitive in that AFC North. At number 15, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. I have them going with Drake London. The big-bodied receiver is going to fit in very well, and he's not the same kind of receiver that a Devontae Smith is or a Jalen Reagor. You're finding a true red zone threat here with his frame and his ability to box out. It's a big deal for the Philadelphia Eagles to get another red zone guy alongside of Dallas Goedert. So having those two on this offense is going to be kind of game-changing for Jalen Hurts. I love this pick. He was a high-volume guy at USC, a guy you could trust in the middle of the field as well. So Philadelphia Eagles are sitting really good here with that selection. Now at 16, we have the New Orleans Saints. I have Trent McDuffie going. And when you look at Trent McDuffie, he is a tough corner in terms of, really getting past him, really getting by him. He's really good at mirroring receivers. I love this for the New Orleans Saints because they've been looking a lot in the pre-draft workouts at potential corners to select. And I don't think they're going to pass up on a guy as good as Trent McDuffie. And when you look at some of his actual coverage stats from this past year, gave up very, very few yards, potentially even the fewest in the entire nation for that matter. So I love that for the New Orleans Saints. Getting a true cover corner is awesome here at 16. And then 17, I have Devin Lloyd going to the LA Chargers. And when I look at the LA Chargers, this is a good team, and they're going to be vying for the AFC West. I feel like they're really, really close. A couple of things on that defense I'd like them to figure out, linebacker being one of them. Devin Lloyd, phenomenal instincts, a guy that you can really trust in the run game, great at filling gaps, and also is getting a lot better in pass coverage as well, which is huge for him. And the LA Chargers, they address that interior defensive line spot, which I hadn't been mocking Jordan Davis. Now I go ahead and select a guy like Devin Lloyd, who could be huge for this team. Now at number 18, a big commodity in terms of pre-drafts, and a lot of teams bringing him in for meetings. Andrew Booth Jr. has been sought out by many, many teams. So it's kind of giving me an indication that his stock is going to continue to rise. Maybe he can even work up into that top 15. But Andrew Booth Jr. here to the Philadelphia Eagles with that pick. I love that for them. And I think this gives a really good opportunity for the Eagles to get better on that back end of that defense. So he is the selection. So here at number 19, we have the New Orleans Saints. And the New Orleans Saints have a really good opportunity here to once again establish and get themselves a terrific offensive lineman in Kenyon Green, a guy that can get out and move, get out in space, and be a big impact blocker for this team. Obviously with the loss of Teron Armstead, it's going to make a big difference, but adding a guy like Kenyon Green could be absolutely huge. I understand he's an interior offensive lineman, is going to be playing that guard spot, but I don't think the New Orleans Saints are going to be done selecting offensive linemen. They're going to want to make sure they give Jameis Winston all the protection in the world. So selecting him at 19 is good value here. High upside offensive lineman, and offers a big time player to really make an impact. So I like this here at number 19. At 20, this pick has been made solely off of what we've been seeing in the pre-draft meetings. Matt Corral and a number of other quarterbacks have been brought in by the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is kind of giving me the indication they're doing a lot of homework on the QBs. They're not sold with what they currently have. Obviously, with Mitch Trubisky, maybe they're a little nervous about that. Maybe they feel that Trubisky can kind of be that stopgap for them. But Matt Corral here, had he not gotten hurt, very well could have been once again a top 15 player. But him coming out of Ole Miss, there's a lot of throws that he can make. He's a pretty good athlete, even an underrated athlete, I would go as far as saying. And the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely need a quarterback heading into the future, and Matt Corral very well could be that. And we'll see, what does that injury do to his stock? And it's very possible, that it continues to knock him down, or there's going to be a team like Pittsburgh that just says, we trust the film, we trust what he's going to be, and that's our guy. Now at 21, we have the New England Patriots. They've brought in a lot of corners in these pre-draft meetings. Let me tell you that. Kaiir Elam, 6'2", lengthy corner, guy that'll get up in your face. And I think this is so a New England Patriots like pick. They love the long corner specifically. Bill Belichick loves those guys that you can really develop. And him being 6'2" and a better athlete than people give him credit for, I think this makes a lot of sense for New England, considering they've been doing a lot of homework on these corners. I think it's almost inevitable that they take one in round one. At 22, we have the Green Bay Packers, and the Green Bay Packers here go George Pickens. This is a guy that continues to rise. Obviously, he was out for pretty much the entire season last year, but George Pickens is a big target, a guy that you can really trust in the red zone, great at boxing out, guy that has very, very strong hands. I think the Green Bay Packers are not going to shy away from receiver in this draft, and I think they're going to draft a couple of them, considering what they have in their current room. They're not going to be satisfied. So I think George Pickens here to Green Bay makes a lot of sense. At number 23, we have Tyler Linderbaum going. I know the Arizona Cardinals are a tough team to kind of figure out where they're going to go, but I think offensive line makes a lot of sense for them. They want to make sure Kyler Murray's protected. Tyler Linderbaum falls all the way to 23 for them, kind of falls into their lap. Granted, he can play center and guard. He's best suited to be a center at that next level. So smart offensive lineman, very instinctual. And I like this for Arizona, considering what they have on their current roster. They can do a lot of different things. They can put him at that guard spot. You can put him at center. He's got some versatility. So that's absolutely huge for them. Now at 24, we have Charles Cross from Mississippi State going. I like this for the Dallas Cowboys because in a lot of their pre-draft meetings, they've had a ton of offensive linemen come through the pipeline, a lot of linebackers as well. So that's something to monitor. But Charles Cross here going to the Dallas Cowboys is a good one. Historically speaking, in the Jerry Jones era, they love offensive linemen. And I think Charles Cross would be the latest example of a guy that can be a big impact player right away. At number 25, now this might shock a couple of people. Lewis Cine from Georgia has been on the radar of the Buffalo Bills in pre-draft meetings. They've looked at a number of safeties potentially to select. And I don't think that it's crazy to think this, because looking at Jordan Poyer, I believe he's in his contract season. Micah Hyde's getting up there in age as well. I think they're kind of looking potentially for the next chapter, and Lewis Cine could be that guy for them. Obviously, one of the more underrated players on that Georgia defense. And I think when you look at his coverage skills and his ability to also play up in the box, the versatility is completely there for the Buffalo Bills. Leslie Frazier can have, a lot of fun using him as a chess piece. I like this for Buffalo. The next one now, we have Nicholas Pettit-Freer for the Tennessee Titans. And the Ohio State product had a lot of ups in his career, really good pass protector. And obviously a couple of lows as well, but they've been looking at offensive linemen. I believe they even had Pettit-Freer in for a visit. So I like this for the Tennessee Titans. I think they're in a good position where they feel they can win the AFC South. I think a way of doing that is to continue to get better up front. Worst case scenario, you kick him inside the guard, but I feel like he's going to be able to stick at the tackle spot at that next level. At number 27, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need offensive linemen. I think that's really clear and obvious. Granted, what's happened this offseason, I don't think they're going to be content really without selecting a lineman in the first couple of rounds, specifically Trevor Penning, one of those nasty offensive linemen, Senior Bowl week, really put people on notice, truly solidified him as a first round guy, almost guaranteed, with how well he was doing on one-on-ones. And also in the game itself, he was very, very impressive. I love Trevor Penning to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're going to keep Tom Brady upright, and he is the pick here. 28. George Karlaftis has a good feel for the game. I think he is so much a Green Bay Packer. I can definitely see him being one of those guys. Losing Zadarius Smith to Minnesota was not easy for Green Bay, and I think they're going to have to replace that. So I think George Karlaftis is a nice plug-and-play player. He's going to be an immediate impact guy on a team that's trying to win a championship. Has a very, very high floor, in my opinion. And I think that George Karlaftis right away can be a key contributor on a potentially a very tough defense heading into next season. Now at 29, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. I mocked this last week. I just love it. Daxton Hill, with his versatility to play corner and safety, reminds me a lot of Tyrann Mathieu in terms of what he can do on a football field, playing in the slot, playing as a safety. This would be a nice transition for them, considering Mathieu likely won't be back. So Daxton Hill from Michigan could be a big impact guy for them. Following that up, I have Jahan Dotson. Forgive the picture there of Sky Moore, but Jahan Dotson's my pick out of Penn State. I think it's going to be a big impact player. He's a guy that's going to catch a lot of footballs in that offense. Trying to replace the Tyreek Hill production will not be easy, and I see them going ahead and selecting a wideout with one of these two picks in this first round. Now, the next one, David Ojabo from Michigan is going to be the pick here for Cincinnati. I think that when you look at Trey Hendrickson, big difference from the defenses we've seen from Cincinnati the last couple of years. And when you added him into the mix, it was huge. Now you add David Ojabo to that, who we really don't know what the timeline is for him to come back from his injury. I think he's talented enough to potentially stay in that first round. A team will be, they'll be patient. It'll be worth the wait for them. I feel like a team like Cincinnati would be like, okay, we're going to take that chance on him. Hopefully he's that player that he was, prior to the injury. So obviously catastrophic injury, but maybe they feel they can, really get a lot of that production out of him. And then finally at 32 here, I do have Sky Moore going. Now this is the true Sky Moore pick. The Detroit Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown did very, very well. I don't think they're going to be done at that wide receiver spot either. I see him being one of those guys that has been undervalued throughout the entire draft process. He ran so much better than people had anticipated before the combine. Did a really nice job boosting his stock and potentially being a borderline end of first round guy to, maybe early second round. I think the Detroit Lions are in a great position here to have some good infrastructure for whoever the next quarterback of the Detroit Lions is. And potentially maybe they still draft one in this current draft. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all the support. Hit that subscribe button if you are new. Also leave a like on today's video if you did enjoy the content. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you guys in our next video.